No, I'm not an Amber stan. I only like white-haired hydro girls named Nuvolite. But I am a stickler for accuracy, and while I know it's a joke that Amber is terrible, it also grinds my gears a little bit because it's not entirely true. So I'm going to break down why Amber isn't as bad as everyone says, and why you all should be a little nicer to her, even though the meme is still funny. So this part is for anyone who hasn't played Genshin, but it's still a good refresher for those who have. So the big reason is that Amber doesn't do a million billion damage at endgame level. If a game has damage numbers, it's gonna have damage sluts who think anything that doesn't one-shot everything is bad. That being said, there are a few characters who don't do lots of damage by themselves at endgame level, and they're not treated like Amber is, so why is that? Well, it's because Amber's skills are weird. Amber's elemental skill, Baron Bunny, is a taunt that explodes into a ball of fire. Yet its HP scales off Amber's and doesn't get additional damage buffs from it or anything else. And as for a taunt, it doesn't always work well. And with Amber's burst, normally with something like this, games distribute damage across the whole affected area, and the visual effect is just for show, but not with Amber. The attack doesn't do damage to everything in the circle. Instead, only enemies close to where the arrow actually impacts the ground take damage. Here are two instances where the burst hits a different number of times. Also, because of her weapon, element, and talents, there isn't really a 5-star artifact set that fully applies to her. Either the 2-piece or 4-piece set bonus doesn't do much for Amber. And then there are her constellation buffs. All of them are pretty okay ability buffs, nothing crazy, but net positives overall. Her second level, Bunny Triggered, would be the best buff Amber could get, as it allows the player to manually detonate Baron Bunny and do 200% bonus damage. If not for the condition that you have to shoot its foot with a charge shot with Amber to do it, which in the middle of combat can be a little difficult. Now, every video ripping into Amber will tell you all that, but I'll go one step further and say that Amber doesn't really have any quirks or flaws. I mean personality flaws, I just listed a bunch of her gameplay flaws. Most all characters have some kind of quirk or flaw that balances out their positive traits and really defines their character. This is good. Fictional characters need quirks and flaws in all media. Quirks make them more relatable, it gives them life and actually enhances their positive traits even more.
The very blood and tears of sinners turn to ice. Achoo! Achoo!
Amber is not like this. She's super bright and peppy, which isn't a bad thing, but kind of falls flat without something to counteract it.
Oh, do you have any idea how to make a decent moon pie?
Bennet is the exact same way, but he comes off as more endearing, given his flaw of horrible luck.
Adventure team, assemble!
So, now that I've explained to you all the reasons why Amber sucks, let me now explain why all that's not entirely true.
Ugh, yuck.
Every playable character has an elemental type and can cause elemental reactions, but there are some characters whose abilities exist mainly to apply their elemental status to enemies, only for other characters to cause a reaction with theirs. Amber is one such character. Amber's abilities may not do good damage, but they are really damn good at setting things on fire. This goes in hand with the fact that, despite not being the nation of Dendro or Pyro, Mondstadt is very, very flammable. All of it is covered with endless fields of tall, burnable grass, and many enemies carry around wooden shields and stand behind wooden defenses, which, you know, are flammable. One Baron Bunny explosion or fiery rain burst coats a large area in flames and can strip hilly trail defenses pretty easily, leaving them open to be comboed off from characters like the Traveler, who starts an Anemo in Mondstadt, which amplifies elemental damage and spreads it everywhere. Even if it's on, I don't know, the ground or a burning shield, for example. And it's not just the Traveler or Animal characters that resonate with this. One of my favorite combos early game was Amber and Beidou. Amber would set fire to the grass, and Beidou would pop her elemental skill atop it, instantly charging it to full and doing hella overload damage. Mondstadt is a tinderbox waiting for a spark to ignite it, and Amber is really damn good at being that spark. The way Amber and Mondstadt interact with each other is just like Kale and Sumeru or Lynette and Fontaine. Setting things on fire is basically the world mechanic for Mondstadt, one that Amber is particularly good at. In fact, the only other character as good at Amber for setting things on fire, available at that stage of the game, is Xiangling. As a side note, of the characters I own in this example here, some of them are good at igniting things so long as you hit an enemy. But with this video, I'm mainly speaking towards players who have been playing since day one. Likewise, Dia and Gaming aren't immediately available unless you get really lucky. I want to emphasize one part on what I said just now. That stage of the game. Amber is designed for early game. She is designed for people completely new to Genshin to help them learn the game's systems and how it plays. As a new player in any game, you need all the help you can get. You don't have the technical knowledge, game experience, and or built out characters to deal with the game's challenges. So it actually makes a lot of sense in this case why Baron Bunny's health scales with Amber's. The more health points Baron Bunny has, the longer Baron Bunny is alive, and the longer enemies will attack it and not you, giving you a chance to heal, retreat, switch character, and or reassess the challenge. New and low level players need this to give them some breathing room in combat, until they understand how combat and character building works in depth. And besides, it's not like they're gonna build anything but HP and attack anyways. Likewise, Amber's ability to set everything on fire is crucial for players to learn about elemental reactions in Genshin, both between characters and environmental effects. Also, Amber uses a system that no other character in Genshin does: weak spots. Amber is the only character to have a buff for weak spot hits, and half of the 3-star bows in the game do something related to weak spot hits. And given that most early game enemies are hilichurls with massive heads or ruin guards with big glowing weak spots, it's evident that this whole weak spot thing with charged bow attacks was the original direction for bow characters. As a matter of fact, when was the last time you used a charge attack on a bow character? And no, Chaska doesn't count. Let's be real, most bow characters, and most characters in general, are now made and used for their elemental skill and burst, or normal attack if buffed by the latter two. The design ethos of characters and combat has changed dramatically since the game launch. So yeah, no wonder Amber isn't good at endgame, because she's not designed for endgame. The world she inherited no longer supports her. Amber in a way is the last vestige of an older, more simpler Genshin. I mean, why do you think Amber's specialty dish is the most basic thing you can cook? Now, I have a theory. Genshin is a gacha game, where you gamble away the little fake monies the game gives you for new characters. And spending real money to get more of the fake money to roll for new characters is the main moneymaker for the studio. So you know, I'm just saying that it'd be pretty clever of the game devs to make the free starter character intentionally underwhelming, so you get fed up with them and start rolling for new characters. But I don't think this is fully the case, because Barbara and Noelle are also given to the player for free later on. And these two characters are some of the best characters in the game, even now, 5 years later. So it doesn't quite line up with the bad on purpose theory, since why would the devs give you such well-made characters for free if they wanted to egg you on to do gacha? That being said, you have to roll the beginner wish to get the free Noelle, and the free Barbara is only available after completing Mondstadt's Archon quests. So the original idea still stands, that Amber is designed for early game and Mondstadt, and she simply falls off in mid to late game because by that point, the player understands the game well and has better builds and characters. But if anything, Amber being Amber is probably enough motivation for players to start gambling away their primos. Apparently, Kaya and Lisa are also given to new players as well. Okay, so we understand that Amber is made for early game and new players, right? Please tell me you understand this now. But that being said, MiHoYo still could have made her viable in endgame, primarily through her constellation upgrades. No new player is going to roll specifically for Amber to get her upgrades. They're gonna go for new characters because shiny new thing. Also, Amber has never had a boosted drop rate in an event wish, and only shows up in the shop 2 months of the year, so it's not like there's a reliable way to get more Ambers fast. Which is to say that Amber's constellation is particularly difficult to build out, unless you have Bennet's luck. I'm sorry for you if that's the case. So here would have been the perfect place to hide late game busted abilities. All of her current constellation buffs are solid support stat buffs, except for her C2, which would be good if, like I said earlier, you didn't have to shoot Baron Bunny in the foot with a fully charged shot with Amber. These are okay, but most useful in early game, which is where Amber is made for, but also when they're not accessible. Instead, I think MiHoYo could have done stuff like make Amber's elemental skill and burst damage scale off HP plus attack, like Dia's do, unlock an overcharged charge attack shot that does hella damage, like half of the 5-star bow characters, or enemies that take damage from the burst have their def lowered by a lot. You know, something like that. Anything that turns Amber from 0 to hero in endgame. There's loads of ideas out there. Likewise, MiHoYo could gift all players past a certain adventure rank or something a special bow for Amber that gives her some kind of insane buff that puts her online at endgame. Maybe something to do with the long-forgotten weak spot mechanic, as that would make her unique. Although, as much as MiHoYo has improved Genshin and added tons of features over its lifespan, it's my understanding that MiHoYo doesn't rework things after they enter the game. Unless it's a Genius Invocation TCG card. Except for the ones that are actually broken. Perhaps another possibility. Both Star Rail and Zenless have 5-star versions of starter characters. Maybe there's hope for a future 5-star Amber drop out of nowhere. Although, this still doesn't fix the problems with the current Amber. And with her character building, I think MiHoYo should introduce some conflict with her sometime. Like maybe during one visit to Mondstadt, the traveler sees that Amber is looking kinda down. Then as the quest progresses, they learn that Amber is having thoughts that secretly no one likes her, despite her putting so much effort into social relationships. And then, you know, plot diagram, quest resolution, everyone's happy again. A flaw like that would give her some depth and resonate with people in real life and Kale trying so hard to emulate Amber, as even the person she's trying to emulate doesn't feel like she's enough sometimes.
Amber is amazing! She's friendly and has tons of enthusiasm.
Also, it would be an ironic dig at the community for hating on her. Despite being the worst character in Genshin, Amber interacts with more aspects of the game than perhaps any other character. Yeah, she doesn't do a million billion damage, but that's kind of the point. Amber is made for players new to Genshin and the original vision of the game. She's not made for endgame. She's made for the journey to endgame. Game developers have been disguising player aids as core game features like this since the dawn of gaming. It's one of the most effective ways to teach something without blatantly shoving it down your throat. In fact, I'd argue that Amber being so mediocre is actually crucial for the player understanding Genshin systems in depth. Ironically, Amber's lackluster abilities and lack of damage scaling may be more encouragement for players to understand how to approach combat, weapon, artifact, and talent building, for no other purpose than attempting to make Amber good. I mean, come on, I know we've all tried. The fact is, you're supposed to cast her aside and move on to better characters at a certain stage of the game. If anything, the community's endless attempts to make Amber good kinda show how much they care about this character. So I hope you all understand that there is a reason behind everything in game design, even in light of the fact that players will not realize the intention behind said design. In my opinion, Amber did exactly what she was supposed to. Personally, Amber was a core part of my world exploration teams up until I got Yoimiya, because no one filled the role quite like her. So y'all better put some respect on Amber's name, and say happy birthday when her B-Day rolls around. I see you out there. Don't be mean.